One. I'm alive. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Polygon Forest. I am Ubisoft concept artist Vin Hill, and I am joined as ever by the indie developer Mr. Christopher Jarvis.
Hello.
And today we have got a few hot topics, I guess. I don't know how to frame this sort of stuff, but yeah, we're going to be talking about Elden Ring, as you can probably see by the thumbnail. But we're also got a few things to discuss around Grand Theft Auto and a few other cool games that came out this week, and there's some other stuff coming out next week as well. So it's kind of a busy time, but everything is slow moving. But we've got a few things to talk about anyway. But before
the hate's not slow moving.
Yeah,
I mean, usual round of internet hate for games and things that are happening in the gaming world. So yeah,
this is true. But I don't know if that.
Fresh.
Yeah, I don't really know if the hate train is really exclusive to video games, but it's definitely ramping up in the games industry. That's for sure. Because people like to hate on stuff. It's all good though.
Yeah.
But before we get to the hate stuff, anyway, not us hating on it, but we're more laughing at other people that are hating on stuff. Before we get to that, Chris, what have you been playing, man?
I've been playing a bit of Destroy All Humans again.
Okay.
And I've been playing a bit of Surgeon Simulator 2.
Okay.
And mostly Forza Horizon 5.
Right, I was gonna say, you've been bigging this one up for a while, so I was waiting for this to be, to actually come through properly, but yeah, so.
What, Forza Horizon 5? I was bigging it up.
Yeah, you were.
Okay.
I mean, you've mentioned it a few times, but which isn't a bad thing. Like, you being excited about a game is good.
Yeah, it's the first time I've been excited about a game that I thought was going to impress me, and then it followed through, and it has impressed me. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So you're enjoying
it? It's really good. Yes, I'm really enjoying it. It surpassed my expectations, and I've got to say they were slightly inflated. I was expecting a lot from this game, and it's actually delivered on what I thought it was. Mainly that it's just taken the good bits of Forza Horizon 4 set in England, and then just ramped everything up and developed things more and understood what where people were enjoying parts of the game, and they've just developed them and made them better.
Yeah.
Alongside all the technical improvements, because it's on the new generation of consoles. Have you been playing it? What are your thoughts?
I've played a little bit. I've only put an hour and a half into it, I'll be honest. I'm ready to put some more into it soon. I'll probably be playing it this week. I'll need to, because we've got Battlefield 5 coming out on Friday, I think. So we've got I've got to get something out of the way, otherwise it's probably never going to see it again, unfortunately, because Battlefield might consume me a little bit. But from what I've played, man, I'm really enjoying this game so far. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The fact that it's sort of like an evolution of the fourth game. They sort of lean more into fantasy of it. I sort of get more than anything. It
feels more arcadey. Feels more tongue in cheek. Yeah, but at the same time, they're actually developing stories more. So they've actually got more character arcs in the story. Yeah. Which they didn't really have too much of. And, it's a racing game, so some people would say, well, you shouldn't have any character arcs. It's a racing game. I have a character arc of how many cars I can unlock and drive. But that does really help you. It's just a nice palate cleanser, nice change of pace when there's some story elements involved, which is really good.
No, that's the best thing about this game, really, I would say, is the fact that it isn't just... to the average person out there that's watching this or listening to this and racing games, I don't care. I wanna play big fantasy adventures. I want to play God of War and Skyrim and stuff like this, and it's all right, that's cool, but this isn't just your bog standard sort of racing game. There is racing in it, but the fact that they've also got this massive sandbox that you can explore, that have got crazy different biomes, the fact that they've got different events and stuff, so it isn't just racing. You do these weird things we need a photo shoot of you flying over the top of a mountain, over the top of a volcano or something, and it's stuff like that. It's just I do want to fly over a mountain and go over the top of a volcano so you can take pictures of me. Let's do this sort of thing. And it's just and you're not just I came in first again, yay, sort of thing. The races are almost the back burner sort of thing. It's I'll get around to the race. I've got some photo shoots to do first.
Or I need to go look for a car in a barn. That's kind of just fun in itself. Looking for something that you don't know where it is.
Yeah.
I don't realize how fun that can be, especially in a jungle in Mexico where there's beautiful waterfalls surrounding the place, or an old abandoned airport. which is just kind of like run down and there's loads of ramps. So that's just fun. Like just driving around like with ramps and stuff, like in an off-roader. That's just really fun. That seemed like it almost seemed like in 4 that was a bit of a bug where you could, as long as you got any car and it had good enough specs, you could just go around rallying. So I was rallying around in like an old classic British car, and that was like you'd never be able to do that in reality, which was but it kind of felt disjointed. This feels like more, in some ways, more realistic in that you can get like a dune buggy and just go around the Mexican countryside and just go off some sweet jumps.
Yeah.
The feeling is better as well. It's improved. Like I saw an article that said like the cars feel more responsive and they feel more easy to control and like more sharp. And I was like, yeah, that's just like marketing guff that is always put on every single new racing game just to make you feel like it's going to be an improvement. But it actually does check out. Like I was literally waiting for 5 to download by playing 4 so that I'd get like a proper good comparison. And and even sometimes you play as like the same vehicles that are in 4 and in 5. And you can tell the difference. Like it's just a much more enjoyable experience because it's just quicker and sharper and more responsive even off-road. So yeah, they've done a really good job. I'm really happy that there's a good game out that people are enjoying and that's getting some love. And I'm happy chappy.
No,
the only thing.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Only thing I say, because it's not across the board, is that they've not kept all the cars that was in 4, some of the British classic ones that I really liked.
Well, 4 still exists. That's the good thing about it, right?
There's no Triumph cars at all. There's hardly any MG cars.
Yeah, I think the thing that you need to remember more than anything, though, is that you've only just recently played Forza Horizon 4, right? Like that's a very recent sort of thing.
It's fresh in my brain.
So and that's important because you've played Forza Horizon 4 for like 2 years after the game came out, and they've just been continuously adding all of this stuff. So you've got the complete package of Forza Horizon 4, whereas Forza Horizon 5 is very much in its early days. Like in 2 years' time, it might have all them British cars in. They might be adding all that stuff.
Classic car bundle added. Yeah,
and there is stuff in the pipe apparently. Like there's stuff coming for this game, and I can't imagine there wouldn't be, especially with like how well it's been received.
Yeah,
so
and I think there already is more cars in 5 than there was in 4 already. It's just that some of them it's not all the same ones that was in 4. So I mean, it's a very minor. It's a very minor thing. Also in graphics mode, I had some frame rate issues, and then a reset, and it was fine. I had some glitches, some audio that's just I'm just able to understand the voice acting, some of it. So it's not perfect, but they've done a pretty good job. I'm impressed.
The thing that I've sort of taken away from it is that it's unapologetic in the fact that it's a video game. It's not trying to be too serious, and
it's not trying to be a simulator.
Yeah. Which is good because there's obviously like other games, like its competition, its direct competition is obviously going to be Gran Turismo 7, which is out within the next few months, I think, like very early next year, which is coming out on the PlayStation. But that's going to be heavily sort of simulator based, and that's sort of like the direct comparison to it. But I like the fact that this is more fun because I'm really not interested in the simulator stuff whatsoever. It's like I prefer to play Stardew Valley than I would Farming Simulator. Like that's and that's sort of like the palette that I sort of get from this. It's just like I just want to drive around places and like this car fly out the back of an airplane or whatever. It's stuff like that, which is just ridiculous. But I love it because it's just fun. And I think this is the sort of game that people need, especially during like these weird times that we're in, to sort of get out and be a bit free.
If you want to just feel like if you want to have a bit of a laugh, have a bit of fun, but also at the same time get that adrenaline going from like the speed and the cool cars to look at because they're beautiful to look at, and all the different technologies to show them off.
And it's doing very well. I'm really happy for Playground Games as well. The fact that they've got, I think I read yesterday, they were up to 8 million players in its first week, which is just bananas. Like
crazy numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously testament to Game Pass, but
100%. Yeah, and I've heard that they're shocked at the response and they weren't expecting it this much, and they were surprised, and hence right at the beginning some of the servers weren't working properly. That's a good sign when in my
too
opinion.
many, too many people trying to get through the door. Like that's a good problem to have.
So it's just been a bit of good news for a change. So we might as well, so it's good to talk about it because I think the rest of it is probably all going to be bad in this podcast.
No, I mean,
going forward from what we talked about prior.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Forza Horizon, I only played it for about an hour and a half, but like I very, very, very stupidly, like on I think it was on like Wednesday or Tuesday or something, but I was like, I don't really know what to play. I just want to play something that I'm used to. I don't really want to play anything new. And I very stupidly booted up Fallout 4, and I started playing through that again, which it's just sort of consumed me again, and now I'm like halfway through the Wasteland, playing ridiculous music. I know I could be playing Mass Effect 2. I know. You gotta get off my back.
Especially that they're very similar. There's some great things that are in both games, like the character stuff and
No, it's just like I guess like Fallout 4 is just my comfort food. I guess like I just have a lot of fond memories from it. It's just a fantastic game. Like
it's a great game.
Yeah, it's kind of I always tell people I highly recommend it. It's also like the game that I always look at in terms of like from an industry standpoint as well. Like I still stand to my point that this was like the best marketed game I've ever seen in the history of video games. I'd still
in the shortest amount of time as well.
Yeah, the fact that they announced it in like I think it was in June they announced it, and it was out that November, and just the marketing campaign that they did at E3 was just pristine, and everything that hit afterwards. And then when the game came out, it was a flawless sort of execution of how you announce and release a game. And I can imagine they're probably going to do the exact same thing with Starfield. So yeah, it's sort of getting me really, really excited about Starfield now, but.
Right.
It also means.
Can you imagine that, but just in space with spaceships?
Exactly. Right. Just. It's. I hope they put like crazy sort of. I don't know. I hope you have a radio of some kind, like you do on your Pip-Boy for Fallout 4. Hope you have a radio for like in your helmet or something with just like
galactic radio.
Right, and just like ridiculous music. Like I really hope, because that's what makes Fallout. Like as soon as you get one of those ridiculous songs on, and you just like running through it and you just shoot it right, and it's just. Everything's hilarious and optimistic and fun, but it's all like in this bleak landscape. I mean, if you turn the Pip-Boy off and it's just like normal music, or if there's like orchestral music from like the game has got its own soundtrack, but it's depressing as hell. It's just like, oh, this is dreary. Like I don't really want to. But the second that you put the Pip-Boy music on, that's it. You're away, and it's just like you just having a great old time. So like, I sort of got sucked into this week, and that's what I've been mostly playing. To the enjoyment of my wife anyway, because she loves watching it as well. It helps her yeah,
so it's a favorite for her. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you walk around with the dog?
Yeah Dog's the I mean dog meat is like the
dog meat, that's it.
Yeah, the original, which is sort of depressing if you think about why would you call a dog that. It's like, I don't know, it's like calling your kid human flesh, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't do it.
I'm sure someone's tried.
Yeah,
tried to call their kid dog meat.
Right, right.
It's got the
that's even more depressing. Yeah,
I think it might be the best weapon system in a video game.
Yeah, I mean it's probably the most polished of the lot, I guess. Like the weapon mods, the armor mods as well, the way that you can customize your bases and stuff. Like I will literally spend days trying to build the perfect base, just like trying to build like the fortress on top of my house, like just built out of shacks or whatever. Like I just have a great time doing it. Like it's just such a great sort of comfort game, and I always come back around to it for that reason. And before Fallout 4 came out, it was probably like I was just doing the same thing but with Skyrim, and then Fallout 4 is sort of like the perfect sort of just I've had a long day, I don't really want to think about anything, let's go and kill some raiders and listen to some crazy music, and the soundtrack never gets old. That's the best thing about it. Never gets old.
Yeah, it's kind of timeless. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Some of these new games, the soundtrack can be a bit dated. It's like whoever's flavor of the month, like get some like with Forza Horizon 5, they've got some songs which I like now, but I just don't know whether or not I'll like them enough.
Yeah, in 30 hours
down the line, sort of thing. Yeah.
After 30 hours of the game, listening to the same soundtrack over and over again, like
I found myself flicking through the radio a few times already, so that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean that is the good thing about Bethesda games in general. Like I don't know how they manage it, but like if it's their original scores or like their chosen sort of soundtrack, like it just like their soundtracks just never get old for me. Like what I don't know if it's because like the game loop they put them with, or if it's the actual choices of the songs themselves. But either way, like it's nothing but good.
GTA is the same for me with that.
Yeah,
I think their choices are great. I don't get old listening to GTA soundtracks.
yeah.
Laszlo.
Yeah.
I mean, Laszlo can. Once you've heard Laszlo's loop a few times, maybe that can get a bit monotonous. But there's a lot.
Yeah.
I quite like that. But yeah, so that's what you've been playing. Okay, so still no Mass Effect 2. You torture me.
I'll get around to it. It's fine. Like I said, like there's the people that had to wait between Mass Effect 1 and 2. It was like 3-4 years. Like I can.
Yeah, true.
You know, the fact that I only played Mass Effect 1 like 6 months ago. I will get to it. I promise.
It's just because I know you'll love it. So it's like you're sitting on a gem, and I know
Right.
I know if you like Fallout 4 as much as you like Fallout 4, you're gonna like Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. I'll get to it. I promise.
Yeah.
It's on my list, but we've got a heavy sort of season. Like I'll probably get Battlefield 5 out my system first, and then I'll be able to get.
I need to finish off Battlefield 5. I've done a couple of missions Battlefield 5, but I need to do the rest because I am enjoying the campaign of that. We've been speaking about first-person shooter campaigns, haven't we?
We have. Yep.
I don't know if that's a good segue.
It's good enough, I guess. Yeah. Do you want to take it away?
So yeah, we've been talking about Call of Duty Vanguard. It's been announced. They've had the reviews coming in and some articles, and there's been some news from people actually playing the game. We've not played the game, so
yeah, take everything with a grain of salt.
You have to take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
But Vin was saying before that all FPS games they all get like 7.5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10.
7 to 8.
Never,
you never lower, get never higher.
Yeah, never lower, never higher, and I get that, and that's fair enough because the media want to wait until a game gets really good or not, and then they say it. Then they'll do another review. But then you get Kotaku come along and just absolutely slating it in one of their latest articles.
Yeah.
Because it's not like World War II.
Yeah, it's not realistic. What they are, it's a video game, not realistic.
A video game not realistic to its subject matter.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. Yeah. So yeah, there's been a few articles. Some are okay, like IGN's like okay. They say that Laura Bailey stuff is really good. She plays like the Russian soldier. She's got the best character arc. There's Dominic Monaghan from he was Merry from Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
He's like a German SS, like a Gestapo person. So that's kind of cool. We've got some good talent in there. The campaign itself is only 5 to 7 hours. So that's a problem for me. Because I'm not really an online FPS shooter guy. And I don't want to spend like, was it 70, 80 quid on a 5 to 7 hour game? Because that's like £10 an hour.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on this. I mean, I totally like respect that opinion. Like that's not a bad opinion to have, especially because if you don't play the multiplayer or you don't play the zombies, which is probably like the good 75% of the package.
It's on the marketing. They're selling the zombies. So yeah, I get there's a huge fan base for the zombies.
So like, I get it. Like if the only thing that you're going to play is the campaign, like yeah, it absolutely is not worth the money. But at the same time, like I'm sort of one of these people. Like I kind of appreciate short games these days. So
yeah,
it's like
that's true. That's a good point. Actually,
I'm at that age where I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? If I can finish a game in a weekend, I'm kind of happy about that. And I'm probably like that to me. A 7-hour game is like a 2-session game, right? So
yeah,
it might be just perfect for me. I'm not too sure though.
I'm liking the fact that Battlefield 5 has like segments and they're like disconnected and you can just play them at different times. I'm really liking that fact. It seems like Vanguard, I've watched about 40 minutes of gameplay of Vanguard, and it definitely seems like there are segments, but it seems like they intertwine with like a through line. I watched like the air combat in like the Pacific, where you play like a torpedo bomber, and it looked really good. It looked like I said before, like a popcorn movie video game. Like it doesn't look like what World War II would really be like. The Kotaku article, can't get my words out, was I'm kind of paraphrasing and I'm kind of taking sides, I guess, but it seemed like it didn't like the fact that the protagonists were too woke and they were all sort of being all multicultural together, and they were trying to push that agenda on the video game, and that's not what World War II was like, and that's kind of what the gist of the article was about. And from what I've seen, it didn't seem like that. It's just seemed more like with the IGN article compares it to like Inglourious Basterds. We've got a team of people that are a team, a unit, and they're taking on impossible odds. That's every World War II FPS. Like, it's one soul. Like Medal of Honor, the first one. What you do is so unrealistic and not like World War II at all. But it's praised as like a brilliant World War II video game. But,
yeah, I mean, we do this for absolutely everything. Anything that's not based on like original sort of first-hand experience. I mean, like Band of Brothers are sort of held up as the point of reference for how you handle World War II in sort of popular culture, right? And then, but even if you even look at the things that have been influenced by that, it's not completely realistic. Like Saving Private Ryan, technically, if you watch that movie, like, yeah, it has elements of like what World War II was like for the average soldier in that film, but for the most part, like there wasn't like these elite units going off to find people and stuff, like going through like heavily occupied, areas and stuff like that. That was not that realistic either. So it's sort of like there is ranges from that all the way up to stuff like Inglourious Basterds and the new Call of Duty Vanguard, and everything that's in between. And it's sort of like I'm a stickler for history. Like, I love history. Like, I read it all the time. But at the same time, like, video games are video games for a reason. Like, they're not
the same as movies aren't like
right. We don't teach history through these elements. They're basically there to spark interest so people can do further reading. That's how I've always looked at video games. And I've seen this argument come about over and over and over again for Assassin's Creed. Same thing. Like, people constantly complaining about Assassin's Creed. Oh, this isn't historically accurate.
Realistic.
It's like, it's
not trying to be. It's about assassins.
Yeah, it's about, like, because the thing that I got from Assassin's Creed, like, before I started working at Ubisoft, like, long before, like, I was a fan of Assassin's Creed because the thing that interested me is that I would play the game, be really interested in the history that it was, like, sort of not showing me, but the history that it was introducing me to, right? And then I would go off and be like, oh, okay, cool, now I'm going to read a book on that.
What really happened. Yeah. And especially when they do something that touches on things that actually did happen, you think, and then you research what did happen. And that's kind of better in a way, because it's forcing people to do their own research. It's not trying to pretend like it's real and it happened. It's not saying, don't look it up for yourself, kids. This is what happened. This is the version that's real. It's trying to get you to get interested in it. I mean, it's trying to entertain you first and foremost, but if it can spark that, what happened thing, then that's all good. And that totally applies to World War II, I think.
Oh yeah,
because it's important for people to learn about it. It's important for us to understand so we don't forget. And
I mean,
so many reasons.
I see what Kotaku were trying to do. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that sentence out loud. Like, I understand. Like, I know, right? I understand, like, their opinion and like their mindset and stuff. Like, and this whole, we shouldn't be teaching history this way and all this sort of stuff. Like, I get that. I'm not excusing any of that. It's just, I think how they went about in the article was just ridiculous. Like, the whole, you should not buy this game. Like, telling people, like,
they say don't play the game. Right. Yeah, in the article, and then they say go and play old Call of Duty games. Yeah,
which is just as, like, insidious if you think about it, because, like, they're not presenting, like, so one of the worst Call of Duties for history. Like, if you wanna like go off, like, Call of Duty is that really bad at telling history. Call of Duty World at War is like one of the worst pieces of, like, historical sort of popular culture in ever. Like, it's actually borderline racist. Like, some of the stuff that's in that, it's kind of bad stuff. And there's a lot of videos and like a long form sort of articles that you can read on Call of Duty World at War.
Right.
That no one ever makes mention of, sort of thing. So it feels like this is very much like a hot topic thing, and they were sort of just leaning into this just to rile people up, because Kotaku, this is what Kotaku does these days. Unfortunately, it's just the sort of thing that it is.
If Kotaku these days because Kotaku has changed over the years, and if Kotaku, the modern day Kotaku, was writing about World at War, they would be
and I'd be curious to go back and see, because I haven't looked, but I'd be curious to go back and see, like, what Kotaku of, like, 2012 thought of Call of Duty World at War, because I bet it isn't. I bet they weren't writing about it in the same way as what they're writing about Vanguard right now, which is just as insidious in my opinion, if not worse, because it's kind of like some of the stuff in World at War is probably quite racist. Like it's actually my most like I enjoyed that game the most in terms of like the multiplayer, but in terms of the campaign, the campaign's actually really bad. So it's this weird juxtaposition. But at the same time, we know that Call of Duty can make a good Call of Duty campaign set in World War II as well, like to everyone else's standards, like Call of Duty World War II, which came out a few years ago. It's fantastic. I really loved it. I thought it was absolutely great. So it's very much about like how you're looking at this in the mindset of, do you like World War II as in Band of Brothers or Inglourious Bastards? That's sort of like how I look at it. And it's just, it feels like Vanguard is very much the Inglourious Bastards of this side of the argument.
Yeah. Neither are like accurate portrayals, because nothing can actually put you in those boots on the day with that history and context. Everything is an interpretation, and it's just how much is embellished and how much is entertainment and what knobs they want to, how much of column A they want and how much of column B they want. Like what's the flavor of the like month, like what's popular, and they've done all the market research, and this is the game that's right for now based on lots of things, like where we are as a culture, what other games are out at a similar sort of time, what games have come before, what the marketing team think the trends for games are going to be coming up, and this is the game that they've come up with. And so it's just a pity that these and it's not all of Kotaku, because there's probably people that work at Kotaku that like, well, that was rubbish, I quite like the game, I don't think this is a good representation
and they're allowed to do independent like sort of op-eds and stuff, and that's clearly what this one is. It's not like hopefully they're not presenting this as like the whole of Kotaku believe this, you should not buy this game, sort of thing, which that would be a different subject. But I don't know, like these people that write these articles that are just like, oh, this is bad history. I'd be curious to see how many World War II books they've read. How many history books have they read?
How much they actually know.
Right. Yeah. Because if they like, then you're a hypocrite. Like if you're trying to register like which is the quote unquote best type of history to consume through popular culture, and if this one is deemed like inappropriate for you and you haven't done the body of research yourself, then I'd be really curious to see that. Because I bet it's not.
Then there's no examples of where other video games have addressed the issues that he has with this game as well. It doesn't go, in this game they didn't do this, instead they did this, and it's better because X, Y, and Z. And also the thing I take most problem with it is that line about don't play the game. They say don't play the game but play the old game. They don't say people that like this, this, and this will like this game, but people like this, this, and this, or have a problem with this, won't like this game.
Yeah, it's just imbalanced journalism. It's bad. Yeah. It's just like what they should have said is, I mean, they can say what the hell they want, I guess, but how they should have probably phrased it was, along the lines of like, these are my issues with it. If you would get ground by these issues as well, then I recommend you don't play this game. But they didn't say that. They were just like, you should not play this game, like to everyone straight out, because my opinion is perfect, and like anything that you think is wrong and stuff. Like that sort of mindset is just, as soon as anyone says that, I'm just automatically on my heels. I'm like, no, like that's not how the world works, man. So
yeah, and it's opinion piece for sure, but it looks like it's been written with a reaction in mind, like they're trying to rile people up.
They are. And I mean, I get that like the sort of digital journalism of video games industry is dying right now, and they need every click they can get, and they need to like get people to look at their ads so they can get paid. Like I get all of that, but this is not the way to do it. Like it's just not. Like if you die doing good journalism, then at least you go down with the ship with some dignity. Like if you're just trying to poke the nest just to like get a couple of views in so you can survive an extra week, like shame on you. It's just very weird to me. I don't understand, because at the end of the day they're still gonna eventually die out. They're just prolonging it by doing this stuff, and also making the industry worse, because people are just getting more inflammatory. They're getting more angry over stuff that isn't really that important. Obviously history is important in World War II, like we're talking about this on Remembrance Day in the UK as well. It's obviously important, but if that is important to you, then you should go and read the real history. You should go and read actual books. You should go and watch documentaries. You should get informed on that stuff if you're genuinely interested in that sort of stuff. sit there and rely on a video game to teach you the right and wrong history. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. Like, I just don't understand why people think that's okay to do that.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with him. I totally agree, and I think that's a good. I can't really add to that.
Fair play.
So, yeah, well done, you.
Yay!
Fair play.
I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, what should we move on to?
So I guess we can talk about GTA.
Yeah. Okay. We can talk about GTA.
So the remaster's out. The trilogy.
And everybody loves it. It's great. It's doing great. Everyone's really enjoying it. So it's cool that people are loving it.
Unanimous across the board praise.
Cool.
They've done a good job. Yeah.
Sweet. Shall we move on? Like that was it, right? Yep.
No, Vin, it's terrible. Everyone hates it. And
really?
It's diabolical.
Aww.
And they're evil. And they're using AI. And they should be paying people. Where do we start? Okay, so there's articles saying it's not worth $60 because it's a mess. Have you seen the rain?
Yes. What, in general or in the game? You mean? I'm saying it's like water flying from the sky. Like, it's terrifying.
You know, like rain, yeah.
Right.
You know, like this water that comes out of the sky. Not fog, but like when it's like, drips.
Drips. I'm learning stuff today. No, yeah.
That's the technical term.
Right.
So it's when I think it's GTA 3 and the chap's on the bike on the BMX, and you can't see in front of him because the raindrops are so thick and white that it's kind of whitewashing the screen, and as well with thunder and lightning, it's kind of making it very disorientating, and it's difficult to see where you're going.
Yeah, I've got it up on. I put it up on the screen, like how it looks.
That is. I know it's a remake, and obviously it's different to what was originally there, and they've done some tweaking, but that in itself is like, well, this isn't good, is it? You can't release that with people not being able to play the game. It's like game breaking, because you can't. If you was in a mission and that was happening, although I know that in missions they make sure that it's not too much one way or the other. You never play any missions like in a storm or anything, unless it's specific to the mission.
Right.
But you can't play the game as it's intended with those sort of bugs. So that is one where it's like, they dropped the ball there.
Sure.
I mean, yes, it's a big undertaking what they've done, and they need to cut some slack, yada yada yada, wait for the patches, blah blah blah. But yeah, there's one there that's pretty bad. People that aren't liking the people either. Like, there's memes all over the place of like the geometry of people looking all like pear shaped, and arms looking all weird and wobbly. And they're doing screenshots of like befores and afters. And it's showing that the original was just still better, and what they've done just isn't any better at all. So there's that. The thing that I showed you on Twitter, where there's this thread where people think that they've used AI to up-res the textures of the buildings.
This is great. Like, I love this. Like, I'm not like, I don't genuinely love it. I think it's so ridiculous that it's just, you have to laugh at it. Like, you can't not laugh at this. I'm going to share it on the screen because it's just, it's comedy gold. Like, I love this stuff.
Yeah. It is funny. I was like, are these people doing a bit? Like, are they like interacting and it's funny? But no, seems like it's legit.
Believe this. Yeah. So like
they believe this.
So the sort of quote is, oh god, they used AI to upscale the signs and GTA remasters, and a lot of the classic jokes are lost because the algorithm just guessed and they didn't even check. Basically what they think is that the signs were just like put through an algorithm, and the AI was going through, and the AI came across this sign and was like, I know what this says, and they translated it, and then the sign changed, and then the computer just like decided something else and moved along, sort of thing. The AI did not do this. Like, this is a human error, okay? Like, we have to make this perfectly clear. Yeah. But people think that this is robots doing this, and it's gold. I love the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we've got Screaming Collins guitars, guitar wank booths available, and the AI just put that as what is it? Guitar Hank booths available. And
Available.
instead of air guitars from $199, it's AR guitars.
That's great. I
from
love it.
$199.
Yeah.
And what's happened here is that it's gone to someone who doesn't speak English, and they've been asked, can you change these textures and like up-res them and put English words in?
Right.
And the English words, well, there's a spelling mistake. There's spelling mistakes, and it doesn't really make sense. But that's not AR. That's not a computer. That's not AI.
Yeah.
And they've taken out the guitars. Computers can't take out guitars from pictures.
Yeah,
I mean, Photoshop can.
I have to explain like what this means. Basically, whenever there's a remaster or something like this work is not getting done like in large amount by the company that makes Grand Theft Auto. Like there isn't people at Rockstar Games making this remaster. They might be overseeing it, absolutely, but the actual like hard work, like the grunt work that's being done on the textures and getting up-res, like there is a lot of it that will be put through sort of AI upscaling things. But when it comes to text and they need to go in and retouch up text or anything like that, that is done by a person that is living in a country that is doing it for bare cheap. So you're talking about outsourcing studios in unfortunately, like a lot of poorer countries. There's a lot of them in China and Asia and places like this, and they're underpaid.
Yeah.
And these people do not speak English a lot of the time. They're just getting paid to sort of upscale stuff and up-res stuff very, very quickly for very, very cheap. That's what's happened. And this isn't an AI. Like the fact that people think that it is, and they've jumped to that conclusion, is sort of bananas. And like, it's taken a story. Yeah, right. A computer cannot go through a texture and understand like, oh, that's text. I need to upscale that. Nope. Can't upscale that, so I'm going to change it, and then I'm going to type it out, but I'm going to do it wrong. Like, sorry.
And then the hot dog one, was it Shaft hot dogs? The taste of a real man's meat, and they've changed it to heat.
Right, because they've just looked at screenshots.
Yeah. Some people are saying that's because iOS, if it's going to be on Apple, they don't want innuendos and stuff.
Yeah.
Which,
I get that, but at the same time, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, I believe all three of those games have already been on iOS for the past 10 years. So why would they just
already on there.
change it now?
Maybe. And it doesn't explain. They don't like spelling mistakes, that's for sure. But they're still on there.
Yeah, sorry to break it to you people, but AI is when it comes to computers, it's pretty good at spelling stuff. Just so you know, like it's not that good. Like normally, if it's a spelling mistake, it's a human error, definitely.
Yeah. So it's probably someone that doesn't speak English, and they've been asked. They're looking at the words. It's not very legible in the current, in the old version of the game.
Sure.
And if it's not your first language and you've got using Google Translate, that makes sense and it reads okay for what it is, which is background, stuff. This person might not know if it's a gag or not, and it's not been checked. At the end of the day, it's not been checked.
Yeah, one of the hardest things
at Rockstar hasn't checked.
Yeah, I mean that's where the failure is. It's not anything to do with the outsourcing studio, because like one of the hardest things to actually grasp like as a second language more than anything is puns. Like that's like the last stage of learning a language. Like you get to beginner, intermediate, advanced, fluent, and then puns are like at the end, right? Like that's one of the last things you pick up. So if someone's even intermediate, like there's no way in hell they're going to be able to understand these things in proper context like we do. So this is stuff that has to get checked by Rockstar, as you were saying. Like the fact that this got through and every single texture wasn't scrutinized, especially because they're charging full price for this thing, like as a package. Granted, they are like 20 each, so it's not too crazy. Like, but I can imagine the work was rushed, outsourced, and not very well scrutinized. But it should have been, obviously, because people are obviously upset about this. The game has other issues other than the texture problems, but it's absolutely hilarious that people think this is all done by AI and not outsourcing studios that are sort of bleeding through the ears trying to get this stuff figured out for you, so you can enjoy your remake.
Yeah, it is crazy that people can't fathom that it's outsourced to people that don't speak English. Like that, how that can't wrap around their head. It's like, really, you can't can't conceive that people that don't speak English would think that that's fine. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's just mad. It's just a bit bananas.
Yeah, it's very
Bananas
strange
for me. There's been some other things as well, like the Rockstar swimming pool that I think's in Vice City, and then like on the map, the R is in a different font. So you got the Rockstar swimming pool with the R and the star.
Yeah.
And then on the actual mini map, someone has done the map, and the R is in a different font. It's like a smaller, thinner R font, so it doesn't look like the shape of the swimming pool. It looks like a thin swimming pool on the mini map. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
again,
this has all the call signs of just an outsourcing studio, basically. Like, there was probably a small team that was just churning this stuff out. Like, they got a window combined, like, okay, this is the sign, okay, click it, type it out, send, next. And it's probably done in like 15 minutes, if that. And now it's getting scrutinized on Twitter because like these poor guys were probably like chipping away through this, trying to figure it out, and it's nuts. But
it isn't what we're used to from Rockstar. Rockstar's quality, subject to where the video game industry is at the time. Like, whenever they make a new release, they're always pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And this seems like a bit of a shoddy example of Rockstar better than this usually.
Yeah, it's tough because like I go back and forth on this because like I don't know if like Rockstar care that much about games they've already put out, because they don't tend to really do too much after the fact sort of thing. Like, once the game is out and it's gold and it's finished, like they put a lot of time and effort into their games as they're coming in through the pipe, but the second they're out, they sort of abandon them to whatever fate they may have, other than like the online stuff for GTA 5, obviously. But yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of money. They certainly could have like spent more time and money on this. Like, if it had an extra year to cook, like, it probably could have been something really special. But it's sort of, I don't know why this was rushed. That's the thing that confuses me more than anything. It's like, why did they put this thing out like in the time frame that they needed to, quote unquote, need to? I don't really understand like why there was a big drive for this thing just suddenly out of nowhere to get it out. Like, did Rockstar need like some income before the end of the year, like with a sales dipping or something on GTA 5, and then need to make up the numbers? Like, I'm not sure. Like, we really all we can do is speculate. But it's kind of strange to me that they didn't take the time on this and do it properly, because obviously people are upset. There are huge fans of these games. It's kind of strange that they didn't like give it its due time, you know.
It doesn't look like it's finished. Yeah, some things I can let it slide and that, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's ready for being released, and especially not for $60. I think that's just a bit crazy, really.
Yeah, it's kind of
if you think about it, back in the day, the games weren't even worth $60 on their own.
No.
And like all three of them, you want to sell them for $60, and it's this sort of quality.
I mean, GTA 3 is like 20 years old, man. You know, like it's an old game, so we expected more, basically. I'm not going to pick this up. I might play San Andreas in a couple of months because it's on Game Pass, and I might play that one. I think that's the only one that I haven't actually played, so that might be a good one to sort of jump into.
Finn, you've not played all the GTAs. Oh my god.
No, I haven't, because they're all
You've
the same.
heard it here first.
Right.
You've heard it here first.
Yeah, I've played GTA 3, Vice City, which I didn't enjoy that much. Like, I know, like, I'm going against the grain here. I'm not a Scarface fan, what can I say? I didn't play San Andreas, played 4 and 5. Enjoyed those. Obviously played GTA 1 and 2 on the PlayStation. But, San Andreas is the only one I never played. So I might get around to that eventually, like after it's been all patched. That's the sort of thing that I wanted to end on now. On all of this is the fact that because Rockstar have so much money and they have so much time on their hands, and they don't put out games like every 6 months like other third-party publishers, because they have that luxury because they've got great sort of games that are constantly in the pipe.
That last a long time,
Yeah, this will get patched. This will get fixed. I have all the confidence in the world that this will get fixed.
It's just now it's not a good time to get it. The super heavy fans, they're buying it now and they're playing it and they're not happy, and quite rightly it's not ready. But there'll be a huge amount of people that play it when it's fixed, hopefully.
I think so too, and I think we see this a lot as well. There's if gamers just take a step back and be like, okay, like if we've had our say now, like we just take a step back now and we'll just wait our time it'll come about and they will fix it and we'll get a good product eventually. I mean, we see this all the time. Like No Man's Sky, like eventually turned itself around. Final Fantasy 14 eventually turned itself around. We get all these games that, like Cyberpunk, eventually will become a playable game. I'm sure. Like there's way too much money put into that game, man. They need to fix that stuff. But yeah,
that might be the exception.
I'm not worried.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about this. I think Rockstar. I think it's not in Rockstar's sort of. It's unusual for Rockstar to do this.
Right. They have got a bar of quality they need to match.
Not like them. Yeah, they need to get back to what they're known for, which is pushing the boundaries of what you can do within the console limits. That's what they're kind of known for, in my opinion.
Indeed. Yeah.
And having longevity of game, like people playing it for like years, like 20 years later playing the game.
Yeah,
that's just playing one game for 20 years. Jeez. I mean, obviously other ones in between, but
I don't know.
Coming back to a game.
I've been playing Eco over and over again for the past 20 years, so I kind of understand.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I do dip in and out of Sonic every now and again, so I guess.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a testament. So they're one of the greats, that's for sure.
Yeah, they'll fix it. I'm not worried about it. If that means that they have to put it through another outsourcing studio, or if they have to go in and touch it up and clean it up themselves, I'm sure they will. They'll put time and effort into this. There's no reason for them not to. So,
Chris, here is your reminder.
Oh.
Order a prescription.
Thanks, Alexa.
Chris, here is your reminder.
All right, shut up, Alexa.
Order a prescription.
Got to order a prescription for some reason.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember doing that, but yeah.
Don't forget your cream, Chris.
Much,
don't forget your creams.
Get my bum cream.
Anyway, yeah, we should move off onto the next subject. Before we do get onto Elden Ring stuff, I think there was a comment that we just had from Camban Williams. It said it's based on the conversation that we had about Call of Duty and Battlefield. He said, some are saying that the bad press for Call of Duty and Battlefield is all too convenient for Halo, and that Microsoft may be spreading some money around. I think that it's silly, but it's strange. But it is a strange coincidence. No, I don't think so whatsoever.
I think it is a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
the media is not being paid, but yeah, the media is free. There is never any money from another company to the media to express opinions that would benefit that company. That just does not happen. There's too much of a leaky ship. Like the amount of game leaks that happen, the amount of people spilling the beans. If that happened a tiny percentage, it would just get blasted by all the other media outlets. That is the sort of stuff they'd be fishing for, and they would love to make a killing on. But
yeah, I mean, Microsoft would just never risk doing that ever. And the fact of the matter is, like, contrary to disbelief to like most gamers, like they believe that Sony and Microsoft are constantly at each other's throats, or Sony or Microsoft are constantly at each other's throats over the third parties and things like that. It's not ever actually the case in terms of reality. Like they are actually gunning for each other quite a lot, because they actually benefit from each other quite a lot as well. So in sort of Microsoft's case, like there's no real reason for them to sort of push down Call of Duty or Battlefield to like give Halo a fighting chance, because you can buy Call of Duty and Battlefield on Microsoft's consoles. So there's just no real reason for them to, like, they're getting money out of this as well, like a good sizable chunk of money. So if what they actually want is all three of those games to do well all at once, like that's what they want.
And no one at 343 would be paying Kotaku or anything like that.
Not at all. Yeah, I mean, it's just it would be too much of a risk. Like if that stuff ever happened, there's never been evidence of publishers actually doing that. There's never evidence of, especially first parties like Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo, paying any journalist to have certain opinions. Like they definitely pay for certain things like influence, but in terms of like trying to spread bad press about certain things, like that's sort of a big no-no. There's no evidence.
Because the IGN one was kind of like, it's kind of good. It's kind of an okay game. There's some good. These are the good bits, and IGN would be loving to get some dirt on Kotaku if they were getting some money for like a scathing game review saying don't play this game. So yeah, there's never been any evidence of it ever happening.
Yeah,
and
I mean it makes good Twitter.
It sounds
threads.
It sounds logical.
Right.
It sounds logical. Yeah, you can understand how people would come to that thought process.
Yeah,
it's
so
just in practice.
Yeah, it just sort of speaks to this whole weird mindset that gamers have sort of developed. Like, no offense to you, Kanban, whatsoever. It's just like the thing that me and Chris have noticed. Like, we've had conversations about this whole sportsmanship about the games industry as like a meta sport outside of like just enjoying the games. Like this whole Xbox versus PlayStation versus third party, like EA versus Ubisoft, and all these
third parties versus each other,
right?
Yeah,
like they're actually fighting, and like there's actual console wars and stuff. And it's like it's really not the case. Like internally, like at these companies, they're just everyone's focused on exactly what they're doing. Like the marketing teams might have a bit of back and forth with each other, like as a joke, or they're trying to avoid each other's like release windows and stuff. But outside of that, there's really not that much like animosity towards each other. It's kind of wholesome in that respect, which is a shame that it leaks.
Actual devs. Yeah, the actual devs are actually pretty chummy. Like when I was in Cambridge briefly, we'd go for like pub quizzes with some of the other studios down at the pub, and like you'd be chatting away. Obviously, you couldn't talk about certain stuff like what you're working on.
Sure.
But you talk about industry stuff for sure. And you know, there's probably people that are flip flop between like 343, and people would be going working at Activision, and you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like 343 is in Seattle, in Washington, in the US. They are right next to Sucker Punch, and they're also right next to Microsoft's head offices.
Yeah.
And all of them guys hang out with each other. I say guys,
like,
but I mean
getting a promotion next door, and then someone will not want to work on that IP, and they'll go work there, and
they just jump around a lot as well. And it's just everyone jumps ship and goes back and forth. Like at Ubisoft in Montreal, we see people all the time, like just walking into work with IDOS Montreal t-shirts on and stuff, or like Warner Brothers Montreal like hoodies and stuff like that from when they used to work at like the other studios that are near us.
Yeah.
We hear about the same thing all over.
Does anyone like take that off?
Nobody bats an eye.
No,
because nobody cares.
No.
It's just like, oh, cool. Like you used to work at Warner Brothers. Oh, what was that like? Oh, it was awesome. We worked on X, Y, and Z. And they're the sort of conversations we have. We don't be like, oh, you worked at Warner, you're the enemy. You know, it's not like that. It's really not. So yeah, this weird sort of mindset that gamers have developed as this meta sport of PlayStation versus Xbox, like Nintendo versus like everyone else. Like it's just
like win capitalism.
Yeah,
people don't. Yeah, when it gets down
reality.
to the person on person aspect, it doesn't really happen, does it? It's more likely relationships form. Yeah, only the marketing won't want. Only thing is, marketing teams won't want to promote other businesses. Apart from that, that's it. That's the only time when those sort of walls are put up, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Just in marketing. So everything that the company's voice is saying is that it won't ever be like promoting other games.
Yeah. And marketing is literally just the only reason why they're there is to just try and get as many sales as they possibly can. It's not really to be negative towards anyone else. They're just trying to get their own product out the door. That's basically it. So they're trying to find the perfect window for that to happen. They're not going to slander anyone else in order to get to that point. But yeah.
But it's an interesting comment.
Yeah, no, it's something like it's not a unique comment either. Like you see this sort of stuff a lot. Like these sort of ideas that gamers sort of have about the industry. Like it's kind of strange to me, like being on the inside of all of this, because like I just it's not the reality of it whatsoever. It's actually very much the opposite. It's like everyone is very friendly. Like whenever you go to whenever there's games conventions and stuff, all these people hang out and they have meetings together to sort of figure this stuff out. Like people forget that you put Blu-ray discs, which are owned by Sony, into a Microsoft console. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like these companies have to work together, and it's kind of bananas that people miss this quite a lot. But yeah,
there'll be people working on Halo. There'll be diehard COD fans that'll be getting it day one. Yeah, that'll be psyched to talk with their co-workers about the game. Yeah,
I mean, I've worked with people that have worked on Call of Duty as well, and they're now working on Rainbow Six Siege, and it's like everyone's just jumping around because everyone's having fun. And everyone's just making video games because. Yeah, that's just what we do. There's no animosity between it. Anyway.
That's that story, I think.
Yeah, I think
the amount of love that's in the dev community, it doesn't get enough press.
It really doesn't. And it gets ignored more times than not because it doesn't make a very good story. Like, because good news is not a good story for...
Headline, people get on, share ideas, and everyone's better off for it.
Like, the one convention that gets like the least amount of press every year is Developers Conference. The one that's in Germany, GDC. Like, it's the one that gets the least amount of press, but it's like the most wholesome thing out of all of them. The fact that people are just getting together and sharing information willingly and freely towards
about how they did
for each other.
specific, interesting, difficult things.
Yeah.
To drive the profession forward. Yeah.
To help other developers that are not going to directly benefit them, but they want to help the industry writ large.
They spend company time and their own time making a presentation up, and so their company is paying for sharing company property, basically. Yeah, like insider knowledge. Yeah, I think it's great. Love it. I watched so much of it with the game dev stuff. We should probably touch on Elden Ring though.
We should get to our main topic, I guess, which is in the thumbnail of the video. But Elden Ring has had a nice sort of network test, I think it's officially called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know, I've been having my own problems with this, but there's been a load of people online that have been, it's like, oh, this is the best beta I've ever played, and like people have just completely bastardized the word beta, and it crawls me.
Yeah, they don't know what it means, and that's not it. Yeah.
Right. They hear the word beta and they think, oh, demo, right? And it's like, no, that's not what it means. It's a developer milestone that we actually use internally, and it actually means something. It doesn't mean free demo for public.
I can play it now. Yeah.
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 So
but part of the dev process.
Yeah, they had a a sort of technical test to test the limits of the actual networks and things like that, just to check everything's fine before the actual release. I think the game is out in, I think it's February, right? I think that's right, like February 22nd. I think
that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's around there anyway. But there's a lot of people enjoying it. A lot of people are saying it's great. It's very much like Souls. Like there's a lot of Let's Play videos out there that you can go and check out. Like we didn't get a chance to play it, but a lot of people are saying good things about it, which is great.
I've read a lot of articles to say that it's the best one, and it looks the best, and it's playing the best. So that's all good news.
Yeah.
But what we were going to talk about though was this open worldness and online and dueling and dungeon crawling and multiplayer aspects, and the fact that it's open world. Where does difficulty play in that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, because this comes around every time a Souls game comes out, every single time without fail. There's a sort of contingency of people that like the look of Souls games, or they want to play it, they want to enjoy it, but it's just the game is too damn hard for them, and they just don't want to. Sure, yeah, and it's a valid concern, and there's a lot of people that just will not pick up the games whatsoever because of that reason until they put an easy mode in, or an easier mode. They don't even want an easy mode, they just want a mode that's actually playable for them, which I get, and there's this whole conversation around sort of accessibility and stuff like that. But I figured it's something that we could touch on, especially because yourself, like if you're one of those people that would like an easy mode, or you would like an easier mode so it'll be a bit more enjoyable and actually playable. Like what are your sort of thoughts on this?
I saw a tweet where someone said difficulty relates to the interaction between a player and the game, and it has nothing to do with games design or storytelling or a tailored experience that devs have for the player.
Right.
I'm kind of paraphrasing and putting my own spin on it, but that's kind of the gist of what they were getting at. So they're trying to say that difficulty is to be tweaked between the player and the game system, and that's just so that you can have enjoyment. And Souls games, it seems like, not the opposite is true, but it seems like difficulty is a feature, is a part of it, is what makes it special and different and unique. And grinding as well. So you've got grinding and dying and difficulty, and those are like some of the major pillars of what makes a Souls game a Souls game. And I would agree that they are. I died a lot. I grinded. What's the past tense of grinded? Ground. I ground.
No, you would say
right.
No. Yeah,
grinded?
I grinded. Yeah, you would say I grinded in this context.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
My coffee grounds are ground. Interesting.
I think we just found a flaw in the English language. Awesome.
We found a flaw in the English language, because Anyway, what was I trying to say? I'm fascinated by that. My coffee grounds are ground.
Yeah, you grinded a lot, and you
grinded in a game.
Yep.
Interesting. It's like dwarves and dwarfs.
It's hard to say.
It should be dwarfs.
I always get like the same thing with roof and roofs, and and stuff like that, I always get. It feels like it should
But
be
it's
something else.
roofs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
roofs with a V. It was confusing.
But it
Anyway,
shouldn't be,
yeah.
it
Anyway,
shouldn't be. Anyway,
it's just an English
So,
language.
yeah,
fine.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Yeah.
Elden Ring. Yeah. So I want it to be. I don't want it to be easy. Although I wouldn't mind if it was, to be honest. 'Cause
Right, fair enough.
I ain't got much time. For the older players want time is more important. Younger players, they can sink hours into things, but I've got commitments, unfortunately, because I'm a grown up. So I want to be able to enjoy.
Very, very debatable, but that's okay.
I'm not grown up. No, that's true. I'm doing a video game podcast. How can I be a grown up? Yeah, I want it to be accessible to me. I want to be able. It looks just freaking awesome. It looks so cool. It looks so up my alley. The fantasy and the spells and like, I love old Baldur's Gate games, and I love Dragon Age games. So it's like totally in my wheelhouse. It's just impossible for me to play the old. I've tried to play Dark Souls 2, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I've tried to play Bloodborne. And I just can't get past the first like dozen enemies. And so it's just like tap out. Like, I just don't have enough time for this. Like, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough hand-eye coordination, or I don't have enough time to sink into tutorials to help me get through things. I just want to get in, explore and play at my own leisure, and I want the game to adapt to my playing. That's what, like, to me, is a good hallmark of a great game, is that the game adapts to your playstyle.
Have you ever considered the fact that you just need to get good? Have you ever thought about
that? Oh. But this is it. It's like, it's an option, but
right.
It's an option.
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
I'm not going to spend money on it.
Yeah.
So it's like, basically, if this game comes out and everyone's like, "Oh, it's just as hard as Bloodborne," I'll be like, "No, I'm not playing it."
Yeah, I mean that's basically what I've heard so far. Anyway, is that the difficulty is not any toned down. Like the open worldness of the game hasn't really like helped the difficulty at all. It's just it's still just as hard. Which
damn. But I see this guy running around sneaking up on people, and he seems fine. Why can't I do that?
Because you're terrible at it and he's good at it. I don't know what to tell you. No, but like, all joking aside, I think, because I've gone back and forth on this argument a few times, and I sort of settle on the fact that I don't land in the you should just get good at it sort of camp. I know there's a lot of people out there who would argue the main argument, like the opposition argument to your sort of standpoint, is that if you put a little bit of time and effort into the beginning of these games, and you figure out like how to kill the first few enemies, you get past that first boss, and just like the sense of achievement that you get that's what makes the game good, and all of this sort of stuff. And like if you just put that effort in to like figure out the animation moves and things like that, and I get that argument, and I understand it, and I even agree with it to an extent. Like, that is what makes these games, is that sense of achievement. And I also understand the standpoint from like the whole, accessibility is important and things like that, and we should, like, if we care so much about like making UI elements scalable so people can read them, like, why aren't we making games easier as well for people? But like, where I actually fall is actually in a different pocket altogether, which is the fact that if these games were easier, I think they would be bad. Like, in terms of not bad as in, the difficulty makes them. I mean, like, if these games are easier, I think it might actually expose like how bad
how they're
designs,
relying them, how they're propped up as a game design,
right, as a
like
pillar.
As a pillar, like the game design loop is hard until it's not, until you finish.
Yeah.
Sense of accomplishment. That's what gets it. So you remove that pillar of difficulty, and it's like, oh, that wasn't fun because I killed them real
exactly
quick.
And I mean, I sort of fall into this camp of like, if the game was easy or even normal difficulty, and you were going through and it's like, okay, I can just kill this guy and then carry on sneaking through, I just don't think it would be enjoyable. I really don't think it would be fun. And I'm not saying the difficulty makes it fun, but I think it would expose like a lot of bad game design decisions. And it's kind of like, if you go and look back at like before Demon Souls, like when Demon Souls, like the original, was first coming around on the PlayStation 3, and how people were sort of reacting to it, there was a lot of either really positive or extremely negative. And if you go and look at the negative stuff, like a lot of people say it's like, yeah, it's just a bad game, like it's not enjoyable. Like even the Yoshida, the Worldwide Studios president, who was president until Halls just took over, when he first got hold of Demon Souls, on the PlayStation 3, and it was sort of his job to say yes or no, like, yeah, we want to put this on PlayStation. He was extremely disappointed by the game. He was like, yeah, this is terrible. Like, why would anyone want to play this? Like, it's just not enjoyable. It's not a fun game. Like, this isn't a good game. And then the game came out, and then everyone was like, no, this is amazing what you're talking about. It was like, okay, I guess I missed something. Because it's, and I sort of, it makes me think, you know, like, if these games did have an easier difficulty, it might just expose like how like bad some of the design choices are. I think the challenge of the game is the thing, that elation that you feel of like finally taking down an enemy is the part that makes it enjoyable. It's just
but then you get the open world aspect of that into the mix. Right. What does that mean? Does that mean that there's certain aspects of the area that you know you can go to because you've got past that bit? Are they going to be respawning, and every single where you go is a
there's always going to be I think there's always going to be that, because all Souls games are like that. If you die and then you respawn, like all the enemies respawn in all the areas that they were before, which is fine, I guess. But like the problem with the open worldness, well, my worry anyway, not the problem, like I don't actually know if it is a problem. It might be a solved thing in the game when it finally does come out, but if you can just like dodge through all of the sort of standard mobs, then all you're basically doing is just beeline into bosses. And then if that's the case, like how do you know when to go to the boss, or how do you know like when you've had enough time on like all the normal enemies?
Leveled up enough,
right?
Yeah. Or do they level to you? Or
I sort of worry about I sort of worry about that, but you know, in terms of like the actual difficulty thing, I just don't know if. I just don't think it would be enjoyable to the people like yourself. Like if they did make an easier version of the game, I just don't think it would be enjoyable for you, like in any sort of sense.
But surely there's a middle ground. I mean, surely there's a sweet spot of like, I die 3 times and then I can win, and therefore it still took like 20 minutes to get through this boss.
Yeah.
But it gets easier the more you like. If it gets easier the more you die, you know.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yep. And that's, I guess that's the sort of crux of all of this, is that it depends what the game was designed for. Like if they design it specifically with the difficulty of like what it is in mind, sort of thing, if they made like an easier version, then they would have to design it for that and then scale it up to the more difficult, because the normal mode is going to be the mostly played version. And then would it be a Souls game anymore, sort of thing? And there's a lot of those arguments and stuff, and people say, well, there is easier modes because like you still got potions and you still got health and they give you all these abilities. That is the easy mode. It's like, I don't agree with that argument. But it's very much about where I sort of fall on it ultimately is like, what is the choice of the designer at the end of the day? Because if someone was telling you, Chris, like, hey, your game is too hard, I can't understand the puzzles, make me an easier mode now. Like you'd probably be a bit like, you know, like no, I don't want to.
Get good,
right? Figure out the puzzles, like get good, like figure it out yourself, sort of thing. But
with my game, all you can do is get lost.
Right?
No, you can die.
Well, there you go.
You can die. Yeah. So you might get bottlenecks with certain, enemies that are moving. So I'd have to think about that. Yeah, it's interesting. But the other thing is like, this game looks amazing, but then again, whenever I look at Dark Souls and Bloodborne, it looks amazing. But then when I played Bloodborne, it was just the same old enemies.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing that I've sort of like realized myself, is that if you play Bloodborne, like the first time you're going through the town and you finally like you get to the first boss and you like get past all the guys with the torches walking down the streets, and you finally figure out the parry, and you finally figure out to like shoot just as they're like are about to attack, so it flinches them, and then you can hit them in the chest and stuff, and you figure all this stuff out, and it's great and it's exciting, and the tension is really high and stuff. But then if you go back to that same area towards the end of the game and you're just like swiping through these guys like they're butter, it's just the most boring thing in the world. You're just like, oh man, I just want to get through these guys so I can get back to where I was. This isn't fun. Imagine the whole game was that. That's sort of like where I fall on this. It's like, what if that was the game? Would it be enjoyable? I don't know. Like that's I mean, the real question is like, should they design it to have accessibility in mind? Like that's a different conversation altogether. Like probably. Yeah, they probably should.
Also, with where I am now in what I want. I know more about what I like in games and what I don't like in games, and I know that if they don't present enough lore in a format that I find enjoyable, again, I know I'm not going to be finishing the game. I might like have a play and stuff and like see what's what and see if the crafting is enough to keep me hooked or leveling up is enough to keep me hooked. But if there's no story, like no reason for me to crawl into a dungeon, I don't really care. Like,
yeah, this is the problem about Souls games more than anything. The lore is very community driven in terms of like they look for every single little scrap that they can find, and then they compile it into this compendium online of this is the lore of Bloodborne, and then you read through it and you're like, oh, this actually does make sense. Like, this is actually a story, like it's coherent. I understand this. But you, as like rando Joe Blow that's playing the game, you never come across any of this ever. Like, there's not like like you never, like you might be the one person that finds like the one scrap of information, but that you're just adding to the compendium.
But in context, it doesn't mean anything while I'm playing the game. So in the actual moment,
most people getting to the end of Bloodborne are just confused. I know I was. Like, I was like, I don't even know what's happening right now. I got the best ending in Bloodborne. I don't even know what happened. I'm just like, okay, like, I guess I'm this now. People that have finished the game, like, understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But, like, I was just like, this is bananas. And then I had to look it up. And after 3 YouTubes later and reading through the compendium, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But there's no reason why that
banana. Yeah.
Right. There's no reason why all of that information could not have been in the game in a more clear-cut sort of format for me to actually be able to grasp and understand. Because I had this whole theory in my head that you were like the unborn child of like a miscarriage or something, you know, like this, and it, like everything about this story, like I was convinced, like, okay, I know what's happening. I got to the end, I was like, I was so wrong, and it wasn't nearly as good, and like why couldn't it have been my story? Because I'd like developed this whole lore in my head, and I guess that's the enjoyment of them. But every single Souls game is like that, unfortunately. It's just trying to pick stuff apart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there did look like there was that encounter with the pot and you have to bash it on the bum and it says thank you. That's stuff that I haven't seen in a Souls game before. And so that if there's more of that stuff, then that's more traditional fantasy RPG.
Sure. I mean, the only upside to all of this is that this game was worked on with J.R. Martin, with the guy that did Game of Thrones. He apparently wrote like the synopsis for this before they started working on it. So there's that, you know, it might have like the Game of Thrones sort of elements to it. I'm interested in this game purely because like it's very clearly based on Celtic mythology in some sense or another. And I'm automatically in for that. It hooked me just because of that. But to the average Joe, I'm not sure like how that's going to sort of translate across, and if the weirdo stories, which like if you get the true ending of Elden Ring, like are you going to be just like this? You're just going to turn into a crow and fly off into the sunset and the credits roll, and you're just going to be like, what the hell just happened? Like, why am I a crow? You know, it's just, I can imagine something like that is going to happen. So, yeah. It remains to be seen. If the law thing is the thing that's holding it up.
It looks like it's got the potential to be like one of the best video games ever made. And it also looks like it has the potential to be like the most Soulsy Souls game that's got the most hardcore fans that isolate a good chunk of gamers that could have paid some good hard money to have a game. But, you know, that's what's good about video games is that there's video games for everyone.
Yeah, there's something for everyone.
There's hard games that I just don't understand and don't get it, and
I mean, this is very much along the same lines as, hey, did you grow up playing Mega Man? Hey, did you grow up playing Castlevania games? Did you like playing Ghosts and Goblins? Did you actually finish Ghosts and Goblins? Other than like the 2 people in the world that actually did, because that game is near impossible. Like this is the game for those
Sonic
people.
2. I've completed Sonic 2. So
sure, with no save states. But if you had,
probably more impressive than finishing Bloodborne, I'd say.
Right? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, I disagree.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Bloodborne is a good game when you get into it. It's just, I mean, I guess my mindset is like, if these games are easier, I just don't think they would be enjoyable to anyone. Like I just think it would just expose like the very sort of mediocre systems that this game sort of has. The difficulty just creates this tension that you have of like, because the way that you play it is just, you're very much like, everything's slow and you're like, okay, I've got to check around that corner, okay, nothing's there, like, okay,
like, oh no, there's a skeleton coming towards me, I might die now,
right? And there's two skeletons, like I've got to draw one away, so I'm only fighting one at a time. Like if you were just like running around the corner, like, oh, two skeletons, and just carrying on like your merry way, there'd be none of that, and it would just completely make that section of the game mediocre. And I'm not saying the difficult, like every game should have difficulty and that's what makes them better. It's just in these games in particular, I think I just don't know how enjoyable it would actually be. I think they'd just be really mediocre games, because I think people have to remember that From Software were very much making B-tier games until Souls came along, really. Like they were making Tenchu games, which nobody was really buying anymore. And that was about it. So maybe they found their source and their difficulty. I'm not sure.
It's one of those things where I've seen a big chunk of the gameplay, and I'm just really intrigued. I really want it to be the sort of game that I can get my teeth stuck into. But I'm not going to know until I either listen to other people that are similar to me and have similar experiences, and then hear it that way. And I think it's going to have to be when the game comes out, because I think it's one of those games where you have to plug in a few hours before you really get a feel of what the game's going to be. Especially open world games.
I guess like with Souls games, I think that's always the case anyway. Like they always say the game doesn't really start until you get past the first boss, and it's sort of the case with most of them. And if you can get past the first boss, then there's a good chance like the rest of the game will just be as difficult as that first boss. It's just that hump is like that blocks about 75% of the.
I'd love to see the metric of people with me though that like plowed in hours and then just gave up within they've seen like 10%
I would love
of the
to
game.
see them stats. I really would. I'd be really curious to see that, because like if there is like a massive percentage of their users that are just like, because From Software must know, they look at the achievement counts and they look at how many people have finished the second boss. And if that percentage is like less than half of the people that are buying the game, then maybe it should make it a bit easier, because like you're just throwing money away and you're just like your fan base surely is just going to dwindle over time. But
with sequels and stuff and like other games, they're not going to buy the next one, are they?
Yeah, but I say that, but then Sekiro just won Game of the Year when that came out, so what the hell do I know, right? And that was my least favourite Souls game. So there we go.
Yeah, I guess that's just two guys' opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play this one. I'm not sure if you are. Like, I guess you're waiting to see, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a wait and see game, because I've really got to be careful on what I spend my money on, especially this time of year. Like,
there's a lot of games coming up. Yeah.
Throwing around money willy-nilly. Yeah. Got to choose wisely.
Indeed. But next week we are probably going to be talking about Battlefield, because that comes out on Friday. So we'll have to get in a couple of games on Xbox if you're going to pick it up day one.
I will try to. Yes.
Okay. If you're
does
not,
seem like one that's.
Yeah, if you're not playing Forza still, driving around in circles around mountains.
That's the cool game. That's a cool game that you can just like put it down, pick it up again.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to play that all the time and just pick up where you left off. Start a race here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, that's one of the good things about it. But yeah.
All right, man.
We can maybe play some online. So yeah, if anyone's listening, we can maybe we can have our gamer tags. Maybe we're gonna arrange that, or we'll tweet it.
We'll
Stay
figure
tuned.
it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably follow us on social media, and then you can find out like what we are going to be doing. So in that sort of vein of things, Chris, where can people find you?
So on Twitter, I'm Acrylic Pixel, where I put some of my indie game stuff that I've been working on, and I've got a YouTube channel as well, which has been neglected recently. That is Acrylic Pixel on YouTube. And what about you, Vin? Where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Hillfort Games. I also post my indie stuff on there. And you can also find me on ArtStation. All my concept art is on there, which is Vin Hill Art. If you're into that sort of stuff, then you can find me on there and check me out and give me a follow. I always like to follow back because I like seeing cool art. But other than that, like, please go and check out a video that we did with Sam Webster on Wednesday. so like a couple of days ago. So if you go and look at the video before this one, you'll probably find it. But we did a quick sort of indie developer solo developer roundtable that we did, and we basically just spent like 20 minutes each going over our different games that we're working on as solo developers at the moment, and we sort of explained like what our thoughts were, and we sort of gave each other some feedback and bounced ideas back and forth. And we're going to try and do this once a month, but I had a good time doing it. I thought it was great, and if people like are into indie development, then they can go and check that stuff out, and then see if you get any cool ideas or get inspired or get motivated to do it as well. It's mostly to keep us accountable, but it was fun.
If it can help or inspire, then yeah, all the better.
Indeed. But yeah, until next time, I guess we'll catch you guys later.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do.
And let us know if you liked it. We'll be on. We've post on Anchor, so on all the podcast services that you would be listening to, like Spotify and Apple Music and things like that.
Indeed. So keep up to date with us on there, and we'll be around next Sunday. So until then.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.